Hello, so I'm streaming on the Osmo Pocket 3 again because that actually gives a way better color profile and everything else. You can see the eczema on my nose there because of it being higher res detailed. This, like I said, gives a much better picture than my glasses cleaning cloth. There it is. Gives a much better picture quality than my actual prop webcam, like I said, because it turns out my actual webcam was a bit of a waste of money because I had the Osmo Pocket 3. I got the webcam, like a higher end webcam to actually do stuff better with, and the Osmo Pocket 3 is still a better picture quality anyway. Only issue with the Pocket 3 is, like I said, I have to keep, if I do a live stream using this, to a bit under 2 hours, simply because it gets too hot after 2 hours and it goes into battery cooldown mode. So there we go. So I am live now. Hopefully people get a notification that I'm on. But like I said, this is a much better picture quality using this one. I should tell you what, let's get it more head on with me. So yeah, it's probably a better picture if I do that, then do that. Let's try and get the framing as it was. But yeah, that way I'm a bit more center framed because I've got the thing about, it's still a bit lower than my head height there, but it's not too much lower. I wonder, you probably can. I'm going to have a look at this now, actually, even though I should be saving my money, but it'd be useful for videos. I think you can, because I'm pretty sure it's a standard screw type thing. But I want to see if I can get like a bigger kind of tripod for the Osmo Pocket 3, because it comes with a tiny little tripod that's pretty damn good on the battery it connects to, because it's interesting how it works. It has a like handle of it is also a battery, so you can have it without that. All right, Stalker and all that. Yeah, good, thank you. You can have this thing without a battery. But then it's only got like a very small internal battery. So like the handle with the little tripod is actually a big battery pack. But yeah, I want to see, because again, some companies might do aftermarket ones that fit it better. So Osmo Pocket 3 tripod. I want to see if there's like a bigger tripod I can get for it. Yeah, there is. So there's a few different ones that are clearly the same one, just by different companies, where they look identical. But there's one that's $26.99, KNF Concept, which is apparently a good seller. So it comes with a little remote for it. And yeah, that's the thing. It attaches where I want it to attach. There's like a selfie stick thing for it. So it'll work with other things as well. Yeah, I'm going to get one of those because it also means that I can put a bigger tripod on this, so I can end up using it more and more for proper videos. So voucher $23.99. As much as I need to really be saving money now. Like I said, that's the sort of thing that if I'm using it for videos, it's at least something that I get the money back from. So put the voucher on. It should show up at $23.99 to checkout. Coming by 1 p.m. tomorrow. Excellent. Because like I said, this is really handy for doing videos, the Pocket 3. It's just obviously having a tripod type thing that would attach to it, that gives me more versatility with it would be great. But yeah, we go back to the chat and everything. So anyway, FIDJET says, I'm planning on running for US president, ending the NFA, fixing ATF, freeing the cannabis hostages, ending qualified immunity, giving Puerto Rico statehood, and saving the world. Just wanted to say hi. And say hi as in like hi 420 kind of hi. Yeah, you sound like you might be a good candidate then, but unfortunately with how corrupt and everything the system is in the US like the UK, I imagine unless you are a paedophile, billionaire, sociopath, all those sort of things, you wouldn't qualify to be a president because, like in the UK with our prime ministers, it's always the shit that rises to the top, So decent people never seem to go for that sort of job. But yeah, so yeah, hopefully we get some more people on. Don't forget to like the stream if you're watching and everything, because it does see sometimes how YouTube share it. I will put a helmet on because why not? I'll put that UN one on. See how comfortable that is. Now I'm bold. 1 second. You said you're eating pie, are you? So, yeah, I might put the other light on, actually, because it's... Actually, if I just do the pure white screen thing, hang on. Pure white screen test, just because it makes the lighting go better. And then I get the pop-out chat there. Then that one, I want this one. There you go. And you've got the adoring fan as your little picture. I'm gonna have to put the chat box, I think, about there, which is still pretty close to where the camera is. It's just that way I can read the text properly. It's a bit that way or that way, like that. Okay. But yeah, I just want the text box so it's as close to when I'm looking at you with the thing as well. I might put that other light on. Because yeah, at least it doesn't white out that camera, even though it's quite bright for my eyes, but at least it looks the lighting looks good on the sort of thing. So yeah, what was I gonna say? So yeah, so I did a longer video today because I only realized later today that I've screwed up the ordering of my videos, and I thought I had a video scheduled for today, but I didn't. So yeah, where there was meant to be a video that was going to go live today, a short, it turns out that that particular short I actually had scheduled for the 9th of February. So 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 25th. I've got videos scheduled until the 25th of February and every day in a row now. But yeah, I did screw up today. So today's video, the Bayonet one, was one that was actually meant to be like just a bonus video. But because I then realized, like, you know, like I said, I screwed up the timing, I put it on live today. So that's that. Trying to think. Yeah, legal opinions. Like, that's the thing, off the top of my head, I don't know, because like I said, I could tell you general purpose good policies, like said, like in the UK, it would be that, you know, you can actually afford a house if you work and do a job, you know, because I think you're in a very bad place in society if you're working like a lot of hours per week, but you can't, you know, actually afford housing or whatever else, because something's gone very wrong in a country where people working full time can't afford the basics. Right, monarchy. So monarchy is interesting. So I'm not a diehard monarchist and everything that really loves the king and all that. I did quite like the Queen when she was alive because she was a very good, almost diplomat for the country. So if we go off of the not entirely the UK royal family, but I expand it a bit in general, I would be opposed to monarchy simply for the reason that, you know, they're born into it kind of thing. But the reason I kind of like monarchy at the same time, especially if you had more of a monarchy system than a democratic system, that might sound strange, I'll get to this, is that if you have a king or a queen that's in power for like 20 plus years, they know if they screw up, you know, and they're the one that's actually in charge, everybody is going to be leveling their anger at that one person. The problem we have with our democratic system is it's very easy for like somebody as awful as Keir Starmer to like resign and run off and be replaced by somebody just as bad. And like everything, you know, like they kind of pass the buck that way. Whereas at least with a monarchy, if you've got somebody in power for a long time, they have to think in the long term, not like, you know, their short term little ambitions. So that's again, so I wouldn't actually want, like I said, in a perfect world, you'd have a very good democratic system with a fully working democracy. But yeah, like I said, now, like I said, the Kempak XRT, I think was one I couldn't get hold of. Let me just have a look again, but I'm sure that was one you mentioned. Yeah, like I said, that was one I couldn't find for sale in the UK. Again, it's a good price in the US, couldn't find them for sale in the UK. But yeah, so, but like I said, I'm hoping with William, he might be a bit more of a king with balls rather than Charles when he gets in. Again, at the moment, I can't afford to buy stuff like that, hazmat suits. Like I said, after payday, if it's still there, I might be able to get one. But no, I didn't buy one last time it was mentioned because I didn't spot any for sale. And, you know, yeah, exactly. Like that's what I'm saying. That's my thing. Like I was saying, that with the current lot, I think William might be the best of them, but I'm still not massive fans of them. Especially when you've got like people like Andrew in the royal family, right? Even though if he's not a prince anymore, he's still in the royal family. And it means they're all kind of involved with all the Epstein stuff and all that. So, yeah, but like I said, the way I think about it is that oh, it is on ITAR, are you saying? So, yeah, but what it might be if they're on eBay UK, that you have to buy them from the US, and even if it's not on ITAR, then you then pay loads of postage and tax. And like I said, I've got a really good NBC suit I like, which is my one made by Remploy. Yeah, exactly. This is the point I'm getting at, was that so it's not like the current royal family I'm a massive fan of, but I'm saying that in general, a monarchy might work well in, if you had a good monarch that wanted the best for their country. But like I said, the problem is the democratic problem you get is that you can get politicians that come in, fuck stuff up. Sorry, like hiccups there. You get a politician that comes in, they fuck something up, they then leave, and you repeat the process. Because, yeah, that's literally been the case in the UK for the last thing since Gordon Brown, is that you have a prime minister come in, they do a really shit job, they resign or like rage quit or get kicked out. The next one comes in, they fuck more stuff up, they rage quit, the next one comes in. I'm not a massive fan of the K3. It's like an Avon C50, but nowhere near as good. Again, can you get it for a good price? If you can get it for a good price, sure, why not? Otherwise, the K3 isn't a very good mask. Because like I said, the rubber is good on it, but the eyepieces scratch really easily. Some of the other plastic on it is pretty brittle and fragile. It's just literally a C50 that's not as good. That's the only way of describing it. It's like we have C50 at home, basically, when the Koreans made that mask. Get the same face piece and rip off most of the C50's design, but make two little lenses rather than one big panoramic lens. Make it out of much cheaper materials. Right, so bear in mind, since I've been 18, the only governments I could have voted for were like the Conservative ones. So when I was 18 was just about when the Tories came into power, when they fucked stuff up around 2010, 2011. Yeah, I don't know about that, hazmat and suits. I know it's a Korean mask, but so yeah, going back to the UK government. So obviously I wasn't really able to vote or that interested in politics when it was Tony Blair and Gordon Brown, because it was before I was old enough to vote. And again, they fucked up a lot of stuff. Tony Blair did some okay stuff, but he started the illegal war in Iraq and Afghanistan, was part of that. He was one of the people that made it much easier for mass migration and that way lowering the wages of people. Gordon Brown was actually better than Tony Blair in hindsight, but Gordon Brown came in when it was the time of the massive financial crisis. So Brown got fucked over regardless. He was a bit like Rishi Sunak at the end of the Tories. All right, Rajiv? And then bear in mind, I didn't like David Cameron at all. Now, when I was at school, because again, this is around the time I was in sixth form when I was 18, I wasn't like one of those really socialisty people at the time that hated the Tories because I was a socialist, or whatever. Because a lot of the kids who I went to school in sixth form with hated the Tories on the fact they wanted to be Labour or like further left than Labour. And they got really angry at the Tories because the university fees thing. Because before then, a lot of them wanted to do stupid degrees, that were fucking a waste of time and get, not pay for it. And again, I think how you, just to go on off a tangent, I think how university fees type things should work is if you're doing something that's important for the country and a real skill, you should get grants and everything towards it. If you want to do a fucking Mickey Mouse degree that's some sort of stupid liberal arts studies, whatever, then you can pay for it yourself and the university can decide what it costs. But I do think that when people need to learn certain skills for the sake of jobs that need doing in the country, then people should be given grants towards those. But anyway, so going back to, so I didn't really give a shit about the Tories raising the university fees because I wasn't going to university. The C50 has a good drinking tube. The FM12's got a good drinking tube. But yeah, I'll finish my points. The Wright brother says the old Soviet filter's obsolete. Well, old Soviet filters are obsolete because if a filter's made before like 1990, it's going to be long since expired. Even the filters that had like a 20-year shelf life are expired at that point. But yeah, so I'll stick back on this politics point because it's an interesting thing. Don't forget to like the stream, anybody coming in. So, like I said, I didn't really give a shit about the Tories fucking that up, but the Tories just did fuck stuff up in general. And, all this whole Tory thing under Cameron and everybody else. I've already replied to you, Morali, don't spam. The whole thing with the Tories was that they obviously, most of their thing was giving kickbacks to big business and all stuff like that. And the modern Labour government are doing the exact same thing under Starmer, just pretending to be socialists. But I'd say, I think the current load of Labour lot are even worse than the Tories. But that's not either because I even like the Tories. It's just like they seem to have a lot of the downsides of the Tories without any other good sides. What about a Chinese hose? Sorry, you've lost me there. Again, I'll try and stick to one point, please, in the chat before we go on to other things, just because otherwise it's going to be really distracting. So yeah, like I said, in the UK at the moment, the two parties that are at least not like the status quo. Okay, what you can do is type the @ symbol. So just to show you at Hazmat, you type the @ symbol and then do like their name. And you can then, if you're replying to somebody, do that, because then I know the message isn't to me or like isn't to somebody else. So always do that. Put the @ symbol, type their name, and if you're replying to somebody else in the chat. So, yeah. So what I was going to say is that, yes, the problem is at the moment that, again, ignore the Lib Dems because they're really irrelevant. I think most people in the country now are not going to vote Labour or Tory. It's going to be between Reform and the Greens. So the Greens are far left, Reform is far right, if you like. I wouldn't consider them far right at all, but, you know, the Overton window has shifted in politics so much with what's far left, what's far right. But basically, yeah, in the current UK system, we are at a stage where I think in the next election, assuming that dear leader Keir doesn't scrap elections full stop because he knows he's going to lose them and decide to, oh, there's an emergency, you can't have elections. Assuming that we actually get elections again, let's say around 2030, because in theory, 2030 is when we are due the next election, but or is it 2029? I can't remember. But before then, if the entire government really collapses, we might be forced into an election if there's like some sort of really big, like with this Epstein stuff and the political scandal, if the government essentially gets brought down because they're so unpopular and they can't keep control of their own party. Yeah, like I said, FI, the thing is that a lot of politics is actually not really left versus right, if you think about it. It's regular people versus the elites. A lot of the left-right stuff, I think, is a distraction made so people who are like poorer and that argue amongst themselves rather than looking at who rules over them. Yeah, again, Liam, like the thing with civil service is I think they really need to purge the civil service and start a complete, rehiring of it. Because with the civil service, yeah, it's supposedly, according to like every prime minister we get, like, you know, they can't actually put stuff through that they want to do because of the fact that, you know, left or right wing parties, whatever, because the civil service has their own agenda and they either do fuck all, you know, they stall stuff, they sabotage stuff, whatever. So I think, I don't care if it's constitutional or whatever else, we don't really have a proper constitution in the UK. I think if a political party gets in, they need to fire the whole fucking lot of them and start again. Because again, if it's so rotten to the core, the civil service, they need to literally just say, we're kicking everyone out. And again, as much as Trump fucks up in a lot of ways, I do think purging some of the political institutions when you come in, if they are very ideologically bent, is probably a good thing. Because again, in lots of other jobs, you know, if a new company buys out a company, sometimes they do have to do mass firings, mass layoffs to set the company up as they want to set them up. You know, which isn't nice if you're already employed there, but I can understand why companies do it. Because, you know, again, if you're buying out a company and want to change the direction they're going in, and then all the staff like, no, I used to like the old hours I worked, you know, I want to carry on with the old job I did years ago, even if it's not, you know, a job that's suitable anymore, that could be replaced by automation or whatever. Sorry, you know, you probably are going to have to change it. And like I said, that was the reason I quit my job a while ago, was because, you know, I really liked the company when it was owned by the old management sort of company. But when it was bought out by another company, I just found I was liking the job less and less of the direction they were taking it. And eventually it just got to the snapping point where I couldn't deal with the, you know, thing anymore. So it was kind of a mutually agreeable thing, I suppose, that I was leaving because I didn't like the way they were taking the company. And, you know, I probably wasn't the best employee for that company if they didn't like the way, you know, how I worked. So, yeah, like I said, I can see what happens. Again, it's really shit if you know, you need the rent desperately and stuff like that. But I think there are times where people just have to say, I should, not work for companies I don't like, their direction. And again, like I said, and if a company buys you out, then they should be entitled to say, this is what we're doing with the company. So again, if a new political party gets elected and they say, these are our policies and we were voted in on these policies, and the civil service say, oh yeah, but we don't like that because we're the civil service and, we're quite soft, socialisty kind of, well, fuck off then, you're getting kicked out. What with the job he did, Gas Moscalin, is that what you're on about? But yeah, so like I said, that's all right, Rich. So yeah, with my opinion on the civil service and everything like that, that's the reason that I think it really does need to be purged. And again, courts, like you bring up, Liam, the courts are another massive issue because again, lots of judges and that are the ones where even if somebody is found guilty by a jury for some of these horrible sex crimes like we've been seeing, quite often the judges give them a really lenient sentence because, again, the judges, when it was people like Lucy Connolly and that were making mean tweets, and stuff like that, they had the book thrown at them by the judges. But when it was people that, are sometimes done for actual really serious, nasty crimes, because of the ideological bent of the judge, their human rights, like, I'm sorry, the rapist shouldn't have human rights. Human rights should be for the victim. I'm not sorry, that's just true. So yeah, I think it's very much a thing that, yes, a lot of our institutions quite literally need to be purged in this country, and this probably applies in lots of other countries in the world because they're no longer fit for service. And like you said, even if you get a party that really does want to do good and fix things, and the party themselves has the right ideas, so many of our institutions now are basically their own political wing that, those people need to be out on their asses and look for a new job. Maybe they can work at McDonald's. That could be a good job for a civil servant. No offense to somebody who does a job at McDonald's. You probably work far harder than a civil servant, but because I imagine most civil servants do fuck all but complain. So yeah, I reckon, purge the civil service. Vlad the Impaler, Mr. Steak. Yeah, he certainly liked his steaks. So so if you want my political opinions, that's it. Like I've said, that I don't particularly know who would be a good political party for this country. Because, like most people, I think you agree with some political parties on some points, but you don't agree with them on other points. So that's just generally a pretty standard sort of thing. Yeah, Churchill was excellent. Again, Attlee and Churchill are kind of both different, but very good for their own reasons. Attlee for setting up a much more fair kind of social state that was really needed in Britain after World War II, Rajiv. But yeah, Churchill for actually being the right man for the job of getting us through World War II. And again, Churchill was a very flawed person. There was a lot of things he fucked up with India and whatever else. And, he was a drunk, gluttonous, chain smoker and whatever. But Churchill got the fucking job done when we needed him. Yeah, and again, when you're in an actual war, you need a wartime leader. Yeah, and again, that's the insane thing, isn't it, Liam? We've got more bureaucracy than when we were the empire and ruled a third of the world. So yeah, we had, and before computers and everything else. So when it was physically clerks doing stuff and posting letters, we had less of them and they were more efficient. They could run a third of the world that way than all of the modern ones with all their IT systems and that. And now it's a bloated mess that doesn't do anything. I think he's living in Putin's cuck bunker, isn't he? Bashar. Again, Bashar's interesting because, like I said, he didn't really want to be a dictator originally because it was meant to be his older brother, wasn't it, that was going to be the dictator of Syria. And then his older brother was assassinated or something. And they said, Bashar, we know you're a surgeon not living in Syria, but you have to go reclaim your legacy now. So and I'm not saying he's a nice man. He obviously did evil things when he was dictator. But I kind of feel a bit more sorry for Bashar than I do some dictators, because I don't think he originally set out wanting to be a dictator. He wasn't like one of those people that craved power from day one. He was very much somebody that was like, oh, I'll let my older brother be a dictator and then I'm just going to be a doctor in another country. But, truth is stranger than fiction. And again, with Thatcher, like I said, I wasn't alive during Thatcher's reign, so I can't really comment on what she did, good or bad. Because again, I know Thatcher is very Marmite, isn't she? You either loathe her or like her. Like, so I've got family members that think Thatcher was great, and other ones that go, Thatcher, like that. Because of, they were the people more fucked over by Thatcher. But again, she was at least a good leader, like I said, the Iron Lady. And she was actually proof, without all the woke bullshit, that you could have a female leader. Because, you know, she didn't take shit from people. You know, the Iron Lady, the Iron Maiden, whatever. You came in 91, did you, Roger? That's interesting. But yeah, like I said, I was born in 93, October 93. So yeah, even if she was in power, then I wouldn't even be aware of politics at all, even though I wouldn't have taken an interest in it when I was young. So I'd have been growing up in John Major, then Tony Blair. Yeah, Thatcher, milk snatcher. And then Hype's in as well. And hello to Anomaly Glitch and everybody else joining. Right, Hype. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, this is why you can like and loathe. Because like I said, this is the thing, is I don't, like we were saying with a lot of these politicians, they're not perfect politicians, are they? So Thatcher was very good for not taking shit from people. Yeah, like Roger said, she was firm against immigration illegals. Obviously, Falklands War and like the Iranian embassy siege was stuff where, you know, somebody like Keir would have just backed down and probably gone, oh, Argentina, I'll tell you what, you can have the Falklands and here's 20 billion pounds so you can take them off our hands. Yeah, that's the thing. You can agree or disagree with her policies, but she did her job properly. And again, she wasn't like Keir, where every other week there's a new fucking scandal coming out about her. Yeah, and exactly. If you're in a coal mining town, like WASD says, you know, and like if you're Welsh or up north in a coal mining place, yeah, you wouldn't like her because she made tough decisions. And this is the thing, like I'm saying, I'm not saying, you know, if I'm really pro or anti-Thatcher, because I didn't grow up in that period when she was in, you know, so I don't have anything she did that affected me personally. Yeah, although siding with fascist Chile to go against fascist Argentina. But yes, again, but like I said, with Thatcher, like I said, most people like all over depending on like their family background and everything else. But I think we can all agree she actually did stuff when she was in power. So she was an actual leader, even if you dislike her. And that's the thing. I'd still rather have politicians like that. So if we had somebody like, instead of Keir, that did lots of things, didn't U-turn on them, but forced through their agenda, I could at least say they're efficient at doing things, even if I don't like their policies. But with somebody like Starmer, you have like a government that's just constantly U-turning because they'll do something unpopular and then they don't have the balls to follow it through. So they just make it worse and worse and worse by fucking around. Like, so with Starmer, you know, there's some things the party, I think, like are really bad decisions, like the Chagos deal. I did have somebody whinging to me about the crimes of the British Empire the other day and how Chagosians aren't real people and it all belongs to Mauritius and whatever. I was just like, fuck off. I don't want to listen to this. Again, this is the thing, like I said, when we talk about history, when people have a go at the British Empire, they ought to say the really bad things Britain did. Like, you know, the Opium War and stuff like that. But they never do, because I don't think these people actually know much about history. It's always slavery. It's like, well, Britain was one of the first countries to outlaw slavery and then spend money and lives actually stopping slavery in other countries doing slavery. You know, so it's one of these really fucking weird things when people bring up the crimes of the British Empire. It's like, at least know the real bad shit the British Empire did, not the not you know, your like very small textbook reading thing of British Empire was the best empire, therefore it was the worst one. Like, no, look at what the fucking Belgians did in the Congo, chopping off people's hands because they weren't getting their rubber quota up. It's like, that was far worse than what Britain did. My mum's just sent me a message, so hang on, I have to reply to it. Ken, she never messaged me unless I'm streaming. Typical. But yeah, like I said, I have this typical thing that when I'm just doing when I'm not streaming, very rarely get messages. As soon as I start streaming, even if people don't watch my streams, I think that's the ideal time to start sending me messages they want me to reply to. Oh yeah, I've seen ones, Hype, but they were like, you see the roads built all around the houses where there's like one little house and then there's like all this modern infrastructure around it because they're not because they're like refusing to sell off their house for the land value or whatever. I know the interesting thing with the Spanish Empire is it's specifically with the Spanish Empire, isn't it? That Liam, that isn't it like so much of the DNA now in South America is like mixed with Spaniard sort of DNA, if you like, because of like the genes and all that, because of just how much raping they did in South America, like how many people were partially descended from the Spanish because of just how much Cortez and his goons went around having having a bit of fun. NBC suits, I've done videos on this. They completely protect you from alpha radiation, because alpha radiation can't really even penetrate a sheet of paper. So even the thinnest of NBC suits will stop alpha radiation completely. Beta radiation, it will cut it down, but if it's a very strong beta source, it won't completely stop it. So with beta radiation, basically you're getting less of a dose from it, but you're still getting some dose from like a really strong bit of strontium-90. And with gamma and X-rays, NBC suits do nothing. But obviously the main advantage of having a full NBC suit on a mask is you're not ingesting or inhaling any fallout dust, where it will be even more dangerous. And when you take the suit off, you can take the suit off and be like hosed down and everything, and not risk them getting contamination onto other things. So an NBC suit is kind of does two things: gives you some protection from the radiation at the time you're wearing it, but mostly it's so there's no risk of cross-contamination when you take it off. Yeah, and like with Fidget saying, I have to actually say fellow humans now, because of the amount of AI slop on YouTube. That's like, well, in today's video I actually specifically said, look, I'm a real person doing this, not AI. Because I have had a couple of videos where people say I'm an AI thing as well. Because again, it's like the brain rot thing with AI, that because AI is so prevalent now, some people literally witch hunt every single thing as AI, like where it's not. But yeah, so regarding like I said, I am noticing what is quite good of YouTube now, though, is you do get nice comments on some of the videos. Go, oh wow, it's nice that there's a real human on this now, because of how much of YouTube's content. My best American accent. Well, I don't really know where part of America this is from, buddy, but yeah. That's actually probably not my best American accent. Again, it depends. Sometimes I can do it and sometimes I can't. I have to be in the mood to do it, and sometimes like read out a specific bit of text. So if we'll read out that guy's question in American accent. Random question, but how well do NBC suits like the type you see in Chernobyl protect against radiation? But yeah, it depends. Again, deep south, because I'm not sure. Because again, when I think southern, I always want to do the like Civil War Virginia accent, like I do not know, sir. You know how like Robert E. Lee and all that speaks in films. Because again, I don't think we have actually audio recordings of Robert E. Lee, do we? Due to his age, due to like the 1850s, 1860s. But I always think of him talking like that, sir. You know, my work is molasses and cotton, sir. Or like Leroy in Sharp, slaves, molasses, and cotton, or whatever it is. No, because to renew a scrubbing unit, you'd obviously have to have it chemically treated or refilled. How did that go? Well, it went fine, like the video. I didn't use it underwater, but it provided me air, and I had somebody else with me that if I collapsed, they could pull all the mask off and that. It depends on where they are, Liam, in America to do the British accents. I think some Americans can do it and others can't. It probably depends on their actual like accent from what state they're from and how over the top they try and do it. Because I think the problem with a lot of Americans trying to do British accents is they try and do a really posh British accent, like, you know, the pronunciated English accent, but they don't quite really know that it's not really a real voice. It is even a made-up voice for the English people who do that accent. They don't really speak like this. Because regarding like that with accents as well, it's because I think the worst accent I can always think of when I think of British accents is, I like the guy, but Keanu Reeves, or however his name's pronounced, in that version of Dracula he's in. It's like Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, isn't it? His fucking accent in that, it took me out of the film because it's such a weird accent. It's like somebody trying so hard. And again, it's annoying because there's a YouTuber I found, I can't remember their channel name, and they do quite good videos in terms of like content, well-researched content. But they're not a native English speaker, but rather than speaking in whatever language their native thing is, just in like an accented English, which I don't mind, they try and put on an English accent, and it's so fucking weird, their English accent, that I can't ever watch their videos because the voice just really annoys me. Because it's kind of like if somebody was doing a stupid impression of an English accent, but then they did a 30-long-minute essay doing it. And again, it's because they've tried to model how they sound speaking English. They're putting it on. Like I said, if they talked a bit like this when they were doing the English, it would not be a problem for me because I could understand what they were saying and I know it would be accent. But because they... That's not being English, Because they talk like this the entire time. Oh, would you like to know any history of 1800? Oh, they do that sort of voice where it's like, I can't concentrate on the video. I'd rather have Microsoft Sam reading a video out to me. But going back to what Hype said, did Britain ever have its own space launch complex? I don't think we ever had our own space launch complex. I'm going to look it up because I think there was a British thing. Let me have a British space launches. Oh, there's Saxavord Spaceport in Shetland, Scotland, which can fire satellites into space. And there are also facilities in Cornwall and Wales. Because I think, if I remember right, there was a failed space launch from one of those sites a year or two ago, like Virgin or somebody tried to do a space launch and it failed. But I remember it was from one of those sites. Oh, is that the vocal fry thing, Rajiv? The vocal fry thing where they talk like that. Hello. I'm overdoing it, but that vocal fry thing where they talk a bit like that. Where I always think if somebody's doing that, they sound a bit like, what's his name? Shetland? What? It's Shetland, not Shetland. Excuse me. That's a nice place in Scotland, Shetland. Yes, when they talk like this, hello, I am from Nova Russia. Yes. But yeah, speaking about that, again, that's why in the Chernobyl series and like the Death of Stalin, they just had the actors do their normal accents because it takes people out of it when you hear a foreign accent. Like a really bad foreign accent, and it just sounds funny. No, that's IRA rockets that run on fertilizer. Yeah, I imagine it will. But yeah, exactly. So that's why in the Death of Stalin and the Chernobyl series, they just had the actors use their normal accents. And again, because the thing is, like people were mentioning that, because like a lot of them are like different English regional accents and things like Chernobyl, if you're actually a native Russian speaker, you can tell the regional accent of where somebody is from in Russia. And apparently, like Ukraine early on in the war caught a load of FSB spies because they had the wrong accents. So, when they were trying to speak Ukrainian or Russian, because obviously a lot of Ukrainians speak Russian, they had the wrong accents. So it was really fucking obvious that they weren't from where they were claiming to be from. It'd be like if somebody down here, if there was an English civil war today between the north and south of England, and you had somebody walking around going, "Oi up, lad, I'm from London," top of the morning. Not top of the morning, but, "Oi up, lad. I'm a Londoner myself. Love me Greg sausage rolls." You'd obviously know that they were not where they were saying they were from. So, it kind of works in the Death of Stalin and Chernobyl, where if they just talk in like their natural voices, Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, like in nearly every country, you have lots of different accents, even when they speak the same language, and like colloquialisms or whatever they're called, like where words are spelt slightly differently or pronounced differently, like bath and bath, depending on where you are in the UK and things like that. And like obviously the one where people mock it a lot, like bottle of water or whatever it is that the Americans think that everybody in England sounds like bottle of water, that sort of thing. When, like I say, bottle of water. Again, I put R in water, but I don't really know if that's correct or not. It's not water, is it? Because water? But sometimes I get people in the comments that are really annoying on videos going, "Oh, you don't pronounce free properly because you say free and three is the same thing." And it's like, if I'm on purposely thinking about the difference in pronunciation between the number 3 and like something is free and like the number 3, so free and free. Yeah, there is a little bit, but nearly everybody you ever hear say free. Tree fitty, yeah. It's about tree titty. But yeah, you'd actually know the difference, like which one they just in the context of how they're saying it. I've seen the one where it cooks everyone on the launch pad. Is that the one you're on about, where it cooks everyone on the launch pad? And I know there's the Chinese one where they launched that American satellite and it crashed down and like crushed a village, didn't it? And then the CCP said nothing to see here or whatever. Yeah, and I imagine, like I said, with some languages, even if you can't speak them yet, you can, even if you're listening to them as a foreign thing, you can tell when they're really, really different. Like, again, like Scottish, like bits of Scotland and bits of England and that, and Wales sound really different. So you've had Welsh, boy, oh, if you have somebody speaking Welsh like that, boy, you can tell that very much around from the Acladdy, kind of Scottish one. When I went to supermarkets, yes, Psychonaut, around the house, no. But again, I didn't go out much during COVID because we had all the lockdowns where you could actually be fined for going out and about unless you're going somewhere you really had to go. So I only really ever went out to the supermarkets. And then, yeah, I wore a respirator even when you had normies laugh at you because I wasn't going to wear one of those kind of useless papery masks. I wanted to wear a proper respirator with filters on it. Because if I'm going to have to wear a fucking mask, I want to wear a proper mask, not a shit mask. The one that annoys me, Rajiv, and that I think there is some truth to this, but it's taken completely over the top, is where you mostly hear this from Americans, not people in Europe for some reason. But apparently it's that in parts of America, they speak the original accent of English, and people in England no longer speak actual English accents anymore. Like, I do not understand that at all. Because we have loads of regional accents in the UK, so it's not like all of those suddenly shifted in 1776 or whatever. Like, I don't quite like. I can understand that, like, how the English language has evolved over time. There's bits in America that sound different, but yeah, I'm pretty certain that if you went back to 1500 and went around parts of England at the time, because it wouldn't have been the UK at that point, people would have sounded closer to the regional accents than they would have sounded to like a Bostonian American. Again, from what I understand, older English, like if you're going back far enough, sounds more similar to like Germanic Latin kind of thing. Old English. There's a bloke on YouTube. Is it Simon Roper that can speak? I might be getting a completely wrong channel here, but can actually speak Old English. And Old English is fucking weird. But like how, because Old English is easier to phonetically read than it is when people speaks it. Speaks it. That's a wrong word. I think that's the guy I'm on about, Rajiv. I think that is Simon Roper. Let me have a look. I think the channel's called Simon Roper. Yeah, Simon Roper Linguistics. You're thinking of this guy. Yeah, and this is the one I'm on about. But he can actually speak Old English. Which is, Old English is fucking weird. Because also, how far back can you understand English? From Old English to modern American English in one monologue. But yeah. I assume I'm subscribed to him. Yeah, I am subscribed to him. But yeah, he does very good videos. Like, also there's some quite interesting ones where he speaks Old English and he speaks it to Germans, and Germans can sometimes understand it easier than English people can, who are dual linguists. Because if they can speak English and German, they pick up Old English faster because a lot of the words are more Germanic because they're from the Saxon period, or they've evolved from German. Again, it's a bit like how Dutch is such a weird language to Germans and English speakers, because Dutch is like halfway between the two. Let me find some Dutch things and read them out. Dutch quotes mean. I don't know if that's the right word for it. I don't mean Dutch as in Dutch from Red Dead Redemptions. Let me do Dutch language quotes. But it's where certain things in Dutch look like somebody's just had a stroke when they're typing in English. So here's one where Geert Wilders said something in Dutch on Twitter, We haben een serious problem met die politici on we lingen met die dwangen. Ik hoop dat die commenden dangen kan worden opgelost. Or something like that. But I can read the start of that and said, we have a serious problem with the politics or something. Because again, Dutch is like, again, it's the same thing with the Germans because it's halfway between German and English. You know, Deutsch and Dutch. My favorite one is their train is stucky wucky, if I can find that one. Oh, here we go. Oopsie whoopsie, that train is stucky wucky. Winching whole hard and to work on it to make Maskendief better for Whitson. Ooh. And like the man is dead, the man is dude. Hitler dude, what now was a South African newspaper thing. And again, Afrikaans is another weird one like that, where it's Dutch, English, and a horrible mix of things. Ik spreek Netherlands. No, I do not speak the Dutch. Oh, in your Africans, Dutch is easy to understand, but German is hard. You find German hard to read because that's the thing I don't. German, I find I can't really keep up if somebody's speaking German fast. But if I get a long load of German text, I find German quite easy. But the weird thing with Germans is they like to have a massive fucking they can't break things down. Yeah, Hitler dude, what new? Yeah. But yeah, the like I said, Germans are like, it's like where Stug is Sturzkamp, Sturmgeschütz, and Stucker is Sturmkampflugzeug and stuff like that. Where the Germans really like kind of either having acronyms and like having a long word from an acronym, or where they can't break down a long word into like a simple shortened version like English does a lot. So you end up having these stupidly long things. Fallschirmjäger. Oh, Fallschirmjäger Gewehr, so paratrooper rifle. Thoughts on FP5, gone over them a lot. Bear in mind there's a difference between P5 and FP5 filters. So technically, P5 are the GOST ones, FP5 are NATO. However, I've got a load of FP5 filters that are GOST threaded. So, Moin Dutch accent lives in Stockholm. I think if I was doing, I'm Swedish. Hello, I'm Swedish. Would you like some meatballs from IKEA? Again, that's probably really bad. Swedish. But yeah. So the FP6 is just a more modern 40mm NATO filter. But yeah, so I've got a load of FP5 filters that are GOST, which is why for ages I thought they were like normalized, all sort of GOST threaded filters because they fit perfectly on thing. But they should be P5 filters. But apparently Poland decided to get a load of P5 filters and label them FP5s. Oh, again, being PM'd. There we go. Every fucking time, right? And I'm not being mean to some of the people doing it because they're not going to check if I'm streaming or even watch my channel, but they won't PM me when I've got nothing on and I want to do something like play a game. It will always be, as soon as I'm streaming, oh, this will be the best time to message Liam to see if he wants to do something. So I press Windows key to do it. I always keep forgetting Windows key tab to do that, right? Okay. But yeah, it's like the Strellenberger Act or whatever that thing's called. Hang on. The clockwork monstrosity, I call this thing, but it's technically called a Strellenberger Act. At least with the this camera, they do mirror it properly so you can read it. Yeah, Strellenberger Act. Type TTL6109A Bundeswehr. So this, if I translate it, does mean something like radiation detector Strellenberger Act. Let me translate it. And again, I won't be able to do the U properly of the umlauts, but Strahlenbergerat. Beam tracking device, technically, but if I do the umlaut thing, radiation detector, yeah, radiation detector. Without the umlauts, it's a beam tracking device. With the umlauts, it's a radiation detector. Yeah, fucking Germans. Look at all the radioactive controls, like we have the contour check. I need to put a battery again in this because this is quite the fun one to fuck about with. Again, German clockwork monstrosity. At least this one still works more reliably than the older more modern German ones. Got a massive capacitor there. Look, oh, yeah, the cables come off again. Got your little ionization chamber there. It's a cool looking detector. This one, like I said, does work all right. Mostly the counting bit on this one doesn't, but cool, I'll read your thing properly in a moment, Hype. I'm just going to see if I've got a screwdriver handy to unscrew the base of this, because I don't really want to damage it. I think a nail clipper could actually probably act like a screwdriver, because the bottom of these is, I have got that other screwdriver motor. This one's a little bit curved, but hopefully, yeah, that fits. Right, there we go, good. All right, so you were saying, also just read that the Hulong reactor is getting close to being approved for service in the UK. Basically going to be the cheapest negative void reactor in terms of cost per kilowatt. Anything cheaper. That's pretty cool. So we could build them in theory. I need to charge that battery up. But, oh, I've somehow managed to get the spring has come off where it should. Or maybe the spring always was in there like that. On this one, I'm not sure. Yeah, probably spring was always like that. Okay. Rather than being attached to the thing like a normal person would do. Yeah. I need to put a D cell in here that's actually charged. Again, I shouldn't really leave batteries in these things, but yeah. But the clockwork monstrosity, as I call this thing, because of how weird this fucking detector is. But like I said, at least where was the power plug? Plug into it again. It's got a little connector somewhere for the oh, there it is. For the actual, see, it's got a little two-prong thing on it. There. I think it works either way around. I don't think it's like one that you get the wrong polarity on it. Oh wait, no, it only works one way because the pins only fit one way. See, that's a good design choice. It means you don't screw it up that way. And then it has to rotate like that. Cable can tuck in there. There we go, and then I can put a battery in this later and actually getting radiation ray detection device. Yeah, like we were saying in the chat, already said that. But yeah, this is where I got the carbon 14 sample out of, because it has a when was this last in service? 86. Okay. But yeah, like I said, this is actually an all right ionization chamber. It's very, very strange. So it goes up to 500 Rontgens per hour. But like I said, it has that weird little countery thing that looks cool, but that does not count anywhere near or close to where the needle is per radiation per hour when it's counting up on the dosimeter function. And yeah, I had this once where those numbers got jammed and sparks started flying out the fucking thing. And again, I had to remove the carbon 14 sample because the little thing it swiveled in and out on got broken, and it was permanently flooding the radiation detector with units. And yeah, the if you do the 5 Rontgen per hour thing and you check the thing, it should read 3.5 Rontgen, not 3.6, but see 3.5 RH when you're doing the thing to show you the sample. Because again, carbon 14, they don't even have to really measure, take that in and out, swap the samples out, because carbon 14 has such a long half-life. When they stick it in the meter, it's always going to be the level they stuck it in at. From where have you shaved the cranium? What do you mean? I shaved my head the other day with clippers and facial hair clippers, because they're good at getting a closer shave. Yeah, this one, like I said, this one is a lot more fragile than say the DP2 or the British Mark II Radiac MD3. I would say the CDV 715 would be quite tough as well, but I actually had a CDV meter break from falling about halfway, like less than a foot off the floor onto a carpeted floor. So CDV meters aren't as tough as they should be. They're like one of those ones that look like they're quite tough, but sometimes the components in them are a bit shit to shop. Again, the nice thing with CDVs is you can swap the parts quite easily out to repair them. But anyway, let me go back to the chat and see what I missed. So, yeah, but sadly, again, going back to nuclear reactors, they are really shit at building them over here because the government keeps flip-flopping on what they want to allow. Because, again, Rolls-Royce for ages has been asking to be able to build and install the modular nuclear reactors, why we still kind of had a monopoly on the design. Because the British government's flip-flop now, so many other countries are making their own modular reactors that we couldn't get into the market fast enough. So that's another thing where Britain might have actually made money out of it, and now we didn't, because the government's like, oh, again, the civil service don't know how safe it is to approve new nuclear stuff. And then every other country like China and America and whatever said, yeah, nuclear is fucking good. Let's invest in companies doing this. And then Rolls-Royce got fucked over. Yeah, it is a good meter anomaly glitch. Like I said, I'll have to charge a battery up, put a battery in it again, because I can get that to move pretty easily with the what you call it. I'm trying to think of the name. My Chinese X-ray gun thing. Also, the DP2 control source will make that go to about 1.5 R. So yeah, I can get the lowest scale to fully max out. So the lowest scale is 0 to 0.5. So it goes up in 100 millirontgen increments, like the CDV 715 does. UK has the highest energy prices in all of the developed world. So we're not as cucked in the sense we'd never build nuclear, unlike how Merkel fucked that up. But Britain pays more for power per kilowatt than Germany does. Let me, because I got the Grok app thing working, I installed that because I do have ChatGPT. Oh, I forgot to put my fucking silica gel back in there. I'll do it now if I can without the cable disconnecting. There you go. Because again, it came with really old silica gel and kind of like a little cork thing. Because I got ChatGPT, but because I stupidly pay for Twitter per year, I don't know why I do that. I keep forgetting to cancel it, and then there's no point cancel it after you've paid for it. But because Grok is actually quite good now for doing things, and I can get it with regular Twitter, I might as well use it. So, cost per European country, including the UK, for kilowatt hour of electricity. France is one of the cheapest, by the way, and that's because France is what was I going to say? Has a lot of nuclear. Again, I'm going to have to make sure you include the UK, because it's not included the UK in that. Again, oh my god, Grok is really fucking up with this one. Let's ask ChatGPT. It keeps not including the UK in the list, even when I'm asking it. UK energy prices per kilowatt hour compared to other European countries. So UK, here we go. Electricity around 27 pence per kilowatt hour. So my PC, for example, would cost about 27 pence per hour. That was only if it's using the full kilowatt. It runs a bit under a kilowatt, even though it's got a kilowatt PSU. But gas approximately 6 pence per kilowatt hour. And Labour wants less people to be using gas and to be using electric heaters instead. So, oh yeah, you're fucked energy-wise that. Okay, Germany. Oh, okay. Germany actually pays 39 euro cents per kilowatt hour, which is actually 35 pence. So they are a little bit more than us. So, okay, I thought Germany was worse than the UK. Sorry, like better than the UK. Apparently it's not. But yeah, France is 20 odd cents, which is like 20p per kilowatt hour. So, like they're paying like 7 to 10p less than us. Assuming this chart is completely right. The EU average, though, is 25 pence per kilowatt hour, when you convert the money. And the UK is 27p. So, yeah, only Germany and Ireland are higher than the UK, assuming this is right. But I do keep hearing from various news sources that the UK is one of the worst countries, like developed countries in the world for power costs. Let me check Croatia for you. I'll ask ChatGPT because it came up with a better thing. Croatia cost per kilowatt hour of electricity. The average retail price is 15 cents. So that would be, average is 11 to 15 cents. So I'm going to put 13 euro cents to pounds. That's 11 pence. So yeah, in Croatia, you're paying about 2.5 times less per kilowatt than we pay in the UK. Yeah, that was Merkel's fault because Fukushima happened, and then Merkel was like, Germany does not need the nuclear energy. Germany needs the coal. We will burn the coal. Yeah, and that worked out for him, didn't it? Yeah, exactly. Oh, another funny one is pollution. So let me ask this. Pollution per kilowatt of electricity in France versus Germany. This is where it's really funny, if I get this one up. Because bear in mind, France has a lot of nuclear and Germany basically doesn't have nuclear now. So France typically gives 40 to 60 grams of CO2 per kilowatt hour. Germany gives 350 to 420 sort of CO2 per kilowatt hour. Yeah, it's not quite times 10 of what it is in Germany, but it's like times 8 or so. Yeah, so well done, Germany. Well done on being green and all that. Let's ask it then about Greece cost of electricity per kilowatt hour. Uh, 22 euro cents, so about 19-18p. But you can apparently get household plans in Greece that make it lower than that. So again, I don't know exactly how the electricity metering thing works, but in the UK, typically, you're like locked in at a price per year on a contract for like the price per kilowatt hour, and then you're paying like almost like a pay as you go kind of thing per at that price for the thing. Not 420, yeah. Yeah, but again, like you said, Germany, everybody's right about that. Germany really did fuck themselves by, maybe it's a masochistic porn thing. Oh, punch me harder, daddy. Jawohl, mein Vater. Ja, hit me with the coal tariff. Ja, jawohl, the high price. But yeah, regardless, Germany didn't make a sensible decision with the getting away from nuclear. And again, with nuclear, this is one of the really sad things, right? That countries that invest into looking at how to get rid of nuclear waste properly are the ones that actually are able to recycle that nuclear waste into better, more affordable things. So, like, how China's experimenting into nuclear batteries in phones. We've gone on about this before. It's not like having a nuclear reactor in your phone. It's the idea that you have a bit of RTG type energy coming from decay heat that gives you trickle charge constantly on your battery. So you wouldn't be able to keep a phone charged on it alone, but when your phone's turned off, it will slowly top your battery back up without a power source. Yeah, and then China laughing at us there, look, with hype. They pay 6 pence per kilowatt hour in Shanghai. Fucking hell, that is low. Especially that you probably get better average wages now than us in the UK. Yeah, again, people think nuclear works like The Simpsons. Yeah, with somebody like Homer running it, like he's running an RBMK. I did a couple of videos. They were mostly half-face little ones, like the GVS Ellipse or whatever they were called, Psychonaut. If you go to my channel, go to the COVID bit of history, you'll see the various masks I reviewed and wore during COVID. But mostly the half-face sort of industrial-style masks, a bit like 3M ones or other brands. But, so I can still see with my glasses, but, just a lightweight little half-face mask. But the ones that aren't fabric ones, proper rubber seals and everything. But yeah, so if the countries that actually invest into getting rid of nuclear waste properly, they can research things to do with that nuclear waste, and therefore it's better for everybody in that country because, they're actually doing stuff with the nuclear waste. Whereas the problem is with, say, places like the UK and other places where they've got really anal about anything nuclear. Yeah, everybody says I look like Charles Bronson. when I do this. I'm nowhere near as buff as Charles Bronson, though. And I'm also not in prison forever. Although under Keir Starmer, I might be in prison forever eventually. But yeah, so yeah, because these countries don't let them invest into finding ways of recycling nuclear waste in a better way, nuclear waste is always bad. Whereas if we had investment into research into getting rid of nuclear waste properly, we'd actually find more creative things we could do with it. That's probably not a good idea to dump stuff on a random island if there's growing sea levels. But maybe if we find a country absolutely everybody hates, we could just use them as a nuclear waste dump. I'm not going to let people suggest countries for this, just in case the stream gets done for racism or whatever, and I'm not going to comment on where we should maybe that's why Trump wants Greenland. Going to dump all the nuclear waste on Greenland. Bigly. This is going to be called Greenland because it's going to glow green. Yeah. And yeah. But yeah. Dump is it glows Greenland. Very nice. Glowing green. I said not to do that. Got to remove that. I said not to do that. I don't want to hand timeouts out. I'm not joking with that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Don't do it because again, I have people watching me all around the world, and I don't want people getting shitty at me. So yeah, like I said, let's not single out a single country with this. I was just saying, but no, in seriousness, with nuclear waste, like I was saying, we could recycle it because there is really good things you can do that scientists know about with recycling. No, I've still not seen either of the new 28 Years movies, The Bone Temple or the other one. I ought to get around to that at some point. But yeah, what was I saying regarding nuclear waste? So yeah, it's one of those things that the countries that have invested money into getting rid of, yeah, that they're going to get in trouble, yeah, with them. Yeah, hype. How dare you say that about my country, sir? Yeah, shadow yeeted, yeah. Fuck you, bloody. But yeah, regarding getting rid of the nuclear waste, yes. The countries that actually have looked into this stuff are the ones that are finding like cool RTG type things to do with the nuclear waste. You know, so you don't just put it in a pit somewhere. You find somewhere where it's completely safe and not going to contaminate anything, but you can generate some energy from it, or you can recycle more of it into viable fuel again. You know, but because we don't do that, and the anti-nuclear people don't want you looking into making nuclear waste a better prospect, a lot of it just gets dumped in mine shafts. Rocky Flats documentary. Okay, I'll look into that. 1 second. Rocky Flats documentary. Is this the 2021 one? Or is it a different one? There's one that's from 2024 that's free, apparently. So, what year did this film come out? There's one that says, an eclectic group of individuals in Colorado confronts the US nuclear weapons industry head-on, challenging the opening of a wildlife refuge and recreation area and contaminated land in their region. In the process, they draw national attention to the urgent problems of the tons of nuclear waste that sits in the American landscape, the toxic legacy of the Cold War. Is it that one? From, again, is this 2024? It doesn't have the IMDb page is shit on here. It barely has any information on it. Oh, it has an official site. Hang on. The poison left behind could kill you. .nyc. It doesn't show me where I can watch it. Let me just search Rocky Flats into Prime. Oh, I spelt it Roki then. No results coming up on Prime Video for Rocky Flats. Let me search on YouTube for Rocky Flats. There's a plainly difficult video, which isn't the one you're on about. I can't remember if I've watched this one. The 1969 Rocky Flats plutonium fire, where there's a guy with a USM-9A1 gas mask holding a Geiger counter or something in a little picture. Let me put documentary on there. There's Secrets of a Bomb Factory, but that's from 7 years ago. Yeah, so annoyingly, it doesn't look like the one you're on about is turning up anywhere. Probably salt mines rather than chalk. Again, I don't know. It's normally when it's an old mine that's not being used and it's far down. But chalk isn't very good at stopping radiation. So, again, it depends what's in the rock. Yeah, and also, that's probably why, because of lots of World War One munitions being dumped in the sea after World War One, or whenever it was, that there was that massive chlorine cloud that randomly hit Beachy Head one day. Because again, if a load of the barrels rust away underwater, that floats to the top of the water, killing all the fish in the process, and then turns into gas. Let me see if I can find you this, because it's quite interesting. Beachy Head chlorine. 27 Burling Gap incident. There's no pictures on that. Let me find one with pictures. I want to find a site where I can just link to it. I'm trying to find the one where BBC has at least one picture, even though it's oh no, the picture isn't from the actual incident. There's some of the guys in hazmat stuff afterwards. So this is the one I'm on about. But yeah, there was randomly a thing where everybody got fucking gassed on that beach. Yeah, if you posted a link, Christ man, it won't show because you posted a link. YouTube will hide it because you're not a moderator. YouTube doesn't let you post links on YouTube unless you're a person that owns the channel. But yeah, I'm just trying to see if I can find images of all the chlorine going inland. Oh yeah, here's one. If I can get this image up bigger. It's from the fucking Guardian. But no, I can't get that one up. Can I find this picture somewhere else? Again, why is it always the fucking guy? Actually, I'll tell you what I can do. Actually, no, I can't. With YouTube on a live stream like this on the control board, I'm just wondering if it lets me do the little like share a picture thing that you can do on the phone, but I don't know if you can do that on the webcam style live streams. Let me just go to Live Control Center. Now, can I randomly pop up a picture? I don't think I can. No, it doesn't let you do it in this mode. Again, this is the annoying thing of YouTube is there's some things where if you're streaming on the phone, you don't get a load of options, but you can at least do the pop up a picture. And if I was streaming via OBS or whatever, I could just pop up a picture. So yeah, I'm just trying to see if I can get you a good thing of this Beachy Head one. Again, it's only the fucking Guardian that has it, and the Guardian is fucking trash. I just want to find the site, like the pictures somewhere. Again, why did only the fucking Guardian seem to cover it? Oh, there's a Telegraph article. Let's see if I can get that up. Right, they've only got one picture that isn't that good. Oh, no, they have got the good picture on the Guardian. Oh, sorry, the Telegraph. Right, let me see. Does this work for people if I direct link this? Can you click that and can you get the image up? No, the BBC only makes shit nowadays, hype, and they are getting more and more anal about people paying a TV license to the point that because they can't make good content, they're trying to find more and more ways of fucking people out of the TV license. I don't know, Devon. They should have sold them to some other country to make use of, like Americans. Again, what is the thing called the must-watch evidence? Type in the exact title of the video, Christ, man. That's the only way you can do it. So type in like copy and paste the title of the video without any URLs into the chat, and then I can copy and paste that into my browser. They enforce TV licenses by basically, again, because they can do you for using iPlayer and stuff like that. One of the ways they can get you is that if you have, say, iPlayer and you didn't, you don't have a TV license, but you've got an iPlayer. If you do that, that's one of the ways they can do it. As in, like you've signed up for iPlayer, so they've got all your details. And then if you watch something on iPlayer and you've not got a TV license, it will strike that against your address. Otherwise, it's if you're actually not paying for a TV license, they'll come up to your house and go, "We want to have a look about you watching the TV," and then basically the idea is you don't let them in and you don't speak to them because they're not proper cops. But a lot of people make the mistake of letting them in, and stuff like that, and then they can see because officially in the UK you can't have a TV that's connected to the wall even if you don't watch the BBC. Because that's because of how anal the BBC is with the license fee. So you can have a TV if it's not connected to the wall and you use it, say, for your, like connecting to a console or a DVD player. And they spam you with letters. Again, one of my friends works at a charity shop and he's getting spammed with letters, even though they're a fucking charity shop, about, "Oh, we haven't seen your TV license. We're going to come round and have a look." And he's like, "We're a fucking charity shop. Like, we've not got a TV. We're a fucking charity shop." Again, they're one of those things that they're much better at threatening random people into paying a fee, even if they don't need to pay it, than actually going after people that probably know about getting around it. But yeah, like I said, my dad pays for a TV license, so I've got one here. If I lived on my own, I just wouldn't have a fucking normal TV. And if they wrote me a letter, I'd write one back saying, "Go fuck yourself. I don't have a don't watch your shit because you're all paedophiles at the BBC." But black belt barristers currently in kind of a legal thing that's quite interesting with all the TV licensing goons, because he's a barrister, like a lawyer. He knows all the fucking rules. He is following the rules to the letter, and they're still trying to like threaten him into paying a TV license. And because he's like a lawyer, he's going to now try and counter sue him and fuck him so good. It's about just watching service, though, isn't it? Yeah, they used to offer discounts to people that had bad vision and were elderly, and then they got rid of that. Because my granddad at one point used to get a cheaper TV license because, he's like nearly blind, essentially. He's legally blind. And then they got rid of that. So basically, you still have to pay even if you can't fucking see or hear it. Because, he's completely deaf, legally blind, doesn't even watch TV now. But they still want him to pay a TV license. Yeah, like I said, if I lived on my own thing, I wasn't, because I'm not paying for the TV license, but my dad does pay for it. So, it's not my problem anyway. What I'm saying is if I lived on my own, I'd not support the BBC in any way whatsoever because they're fucking monsters. They got rid of the, like, if you're blind or elderly, or they made it so it's a bit cheaper, but you still have to pay. Yeah. Yeah. Again, South Africa wouldn't be the place I'd want to go knocking on doors demanding to see somebody's TV license. Yeah. Got a license for that watch. But yeah, this is the whole thing where the BBC now is is kind of in panic mode because so many people now just use like YouTube and stuff like that for videos. They don't use, old-fashioned TV anymore. The BBC is trying to get really anal about finding ways to con you into paying a license. Because there's a whole thing where the BBC is partnering with YouTube to have BBC content on YouTube. But they kind of seem to want to then say you need a TV license to watch that, even though that wouldn't make sense because you don't need a license for anything else on YouTube. And again, the BBC, like everybody keeps saying it, you have to tell me what the title is and you've not done it yet. If you have, Christ, man, it's just hidden it in the thing and I can't read it. Again, I know it's roughly called Rocky Flat, so I'll just have to see if I can find it. I'm not getting any results at the moment. And I'm not going to keep searching for it on a stream while I'm talking to other people. But yeah, so Yeah, so basically every kind of sensible site makes good content, and then they do a subscription fee if you want to watch that content. And they find a price where that price is a justifiable price for people that want to watch that content. The BBC is basically knows that because they make such shit now that nobody is going to want to pay to watch BBC services that way through a subscription model. But that's what they should do, but they're not wanting to do that. Yeah, so you can't post it then. That's the answer to that. Don't keep posting it if YouTube takes it down, because they'll ban your account if you keep doing that, or shadow ban your account. Because that happens to people on here. They'll try and tell me something. YouTube keeps hiding the comments and I can't see them. And then they keep going like, why did you block me eventually? And it's because YouTube's just like shadow banned you from a channel because you've typed stuff they don't like. So yeah, something you're typing YouTube doesn't like and it keeps hiding it is the answer to that. But yeah, so that's why the BBC is in that stupid kind of situation that they make shit content nobody wants to watch. So they can't do a subscription fee method because nobody would pay it. They, for some reason, don't want to do advertisements like every other channel that doesn't have a subscription fee. So yeah, the BBC is basically pay it or else. Is it in your size and is it in good condition? If it's a GSR in your size and it doesn't look too scuffed up, £60 isn't a bad price for one at all. If it's scuffed up or in a really random size, like a really big or a really small size, then no, I wouldn't get it. It's basically my answer to that. Like I said, some GSRs are right, some aren't. Like with the GSR, firstly, you have to have a face shape that works the mask. Even with the FRR, which I like more than the GSR, it's still a bit uncomfortable with my chin. The mask never sits right with my chin, a bit like the PMK2. I wouldn't pay 60 quid for them without the filters because you're going to have to pay another 30, 40 pounds for the filters. So I'd say no. Unless you modified it to take the 40mm filters. But okay, yeah, I don't use an actual razor militia one. I just use first regular hair clippers. Then I get like a beard shaver, like an electric shaver, and just keep doing that till it's evenly short. And then within a few days, I've already got my hair to a sort of little length again. But yeah, razor would get you a really nice, like proper smooth, bold cut, wouldn't it? Yeah, again, it's one of those weird things. Why would I want to cut a random shape into my hair rather than just have it being bold? eBay is normally the best site for Army Surplus. As I've said, with Army Surplus, sadly, there's not many brick and mortar stores anymore. So you're going to rely on Etsy, eBay, Vinted, like Shiroboy said. You know, that there isn't really many sites that specialize in Army Surplus. Oh, I've got 2 electric hair clippers. That's what I'm saying, Hype. I do it first. Yeah, I do it first with my electric hair clipper like that. Then I get my electric face shaver and I go over it again to get the hair more uniformly short. But yeah, that's how I do it, basically. I use, you know, like rechargeable ones for both of it. It's just that I find if I do it with a hair clipper, then I do it again with the face shaver. It becomes more of a uniform length. Yeah, again, it's like Etsy. A lot of people complain Etsy's too expensive, but now and again, you can find stuff on Etsy you don't find on eBay with like milsurp. Like, again, I'm not going to buy anything now, but let's say I go to Etsy and I type in radiation detector. I bet you I'll find some cool old retro shit on here. Let me search Soviet as well, so it's like nothing modern comes up. Yeah, so if I link you to this, if it shows you what I'm seeing. So here, there's some Soviet decimeter pens, Soviet DP24 decimeter pen and charger, the old early LCD Soviet with the SPM tubes detectors, an IP4 gas mask or IP4M. What's Soviet mystery box? What's that? Let's have a look. There's also a DP5V, somebody doing like versions of the Stalker anomaly detectors, some old Soviet watches with the trifoil on them, Chernobyl liquidator medal. There's the Soviet first aid kit, but again, doesn't have the morphine type equivalent in it. All the other things are boring. Again, PMG gas mask. A really old, like it might be a Czech one or a really old Polish one, Geiger counter showing up lower down. A fake demon core kind of thing you could have on your desk. Warning, 3.6 Rontgen's not great, not terrible fixed sticker. DRMM11B Yugoslavian Geiger counter. I'm just getting that up. I think that's missing its probe, hence why it's cheap. But yeah, there's a weird old look Yugoslav. Oh, I need to shorten the URL to get this to be visible to you people, because again, Etsy has really bad URLs, like eBay. So there's this thing. I'm not going to buy it because I can't really afford it at the moment. I think it's missing its probe. But yeah, like some cool Yugoslav Geiger counter. So what ranges did that do? So it's millirontgens hour and rontgens hour. So it does background to high radiation. I don't think the scale changes. So the scale, so I'm assuming it, yeah, it does 0.05 millirontgen all the way up to 500 rontgen an hour. So it's very similar then to a Polish DP75. But yeah, I don't think that actually has the probe on it, so you wouldn't be able to pick anything up on it. But like I said, Etsy is actually really cool for weird shit. Oh, that Soviet mystery box is like loads of old badges and coins and things like that. Okay. But yeah, like I said, Etsy is quite good for finding weird old stuff, especially for Eastern Europe. Oh, that's pretty cool. Eog, or however your name's pronounced. All right, Azaz. Yeah, because imagine, can you get the old East German M56 helmets from them as well? Militia one says he's thinking of growing his beard and hair when I'm older in the future and shaving it all off bald or high and tight shaving. My beard keeps double. I think you should do, if you're going to have a beard and a tash but shave your head, you should do Kane from Command and Conquer. Have the Kane look. No, as I've said before, like, I wouldn't be objected to getting into Mill Sims or Airsoft, but like I keep saying when people ask me, the nearest Airsoft site is like 30-something miles from me, and they do one Airsoft match a month on a Sunday that sometimes gets called off with weather. So it's just a pain in my ass to try and do it. I'm not near any places that really do it. Do I own a PDR56? I don't recognize the name, so the answer to that is probably no, but I'm going to Google it just in case I've got it under a different name. Right, I've got an old Radiac that looks a bit like that, but mine isn't an alpha detector. The one I've got that looks a bit like that is the one with the standard big probe on, a bit like a CDV 700. I've got the box for it over there that you won't be able to see. But and I think there's other shit on top of the box. But yeah, I've got one of those big metal ones with but again, you can't run it because you need like 7 types of obsolete batteries for it. It's a cool meter. It's like it's very similar to the CDV 700 in terms of the ranges it does. I think it goes up to 500 millirontgen, no, not 50 millirontgen. But yeah, I've never powered it on because you need like 6, 7. But yeah, you need loads of obsolete, like different types of obsolete batteries connected in different compartments of it. So yeah, I've never turned it on because that's the problem with a lot of old Geiger counters, like the really old ones, is they use batteries that just no longer exist. Yeah, that's cool. If you're in Yorkshire, yeah. Again, if you're near airsoft sites, that's cool. But like I said, where I am near Oxford, like I said, the nearest one is probably 30 miles away, like nearly an hour's drive. And they only do one game per Sunday per month. So that's how I've got some, like, you know, airsoft guns that aren't the two-tone ones. Because one of my friends that used to play there that eventually got fed up of doing the distance and couldn't do it with his job just sold me the airsoft guns. Because again, if you're doing them as a private sale, it doesn't matter with the two-tone bullshit. Because again, I don't have the UCARA or whatever it is, but he sold them me because basically he knows I've got some real guns and all like the DX and everything else and the crossbows, and that I've never shot anybody or threatened anyone with them. So he's like, yeah, you're going to be fine, aren't you, to buy a two-tone replica toy gun, essentially. WEV3 system GGBR. I'm going to have to look up because I don't know how off the top of my head. £470 for the M4A1. So I imagine very expensive is the answer to that. You've just changed your name on here, have you, Byron? I can see you're a member, so thank you, but yeah. The Pringles man. Yeah, well, isn't that like a kind of Monopoly man moustache? Let me have a look. Pringles. So he's got like a big, yeah, kind of thin one in the middle with a like upturned curves. Again, I think it's meant to look like an onion, isn't he? Monopoly man. Yeah, fairly similar moustaches the Monopoly man and the Pringles man have. But I don't think they're the same person. Okay, that particular one, Jack N, is probably because, again, if it's normally you only get CPM, don't you, on the ones that aren't gamma, technically. So if you've got an alpha or beta counter, they technically should be CPM or CPS. Do I own any missile parts? No, I don't. As far as I'm aware, I don't own any missile parts. Yeah, again, I'd have to be quite knowledgeable to do that. We can't get along. And again, that's the sort of thing where, again, like I said, I've got the old one there. It's crap compared to modern meters in terms of what I can measure if it even powers on doing that. So, Britain still uses the GSR. Yeah, Britain uses the GSR because they even got Avon to buy out the rights to it when Scott went under, so they can still technically have the same mask without switching mask. Yeah, well, at least with me, I don't have so many people in the chat that I can't reply back. Yeah, if it's a £45 airsoft gun, it means it's going to be one you manually cock with a spring. It's not going to be a very good one, or it's going to be a really crap electric one. Like normally, most good airsoft guns start about £200, don't they, roughly? And then again, like the really, really good replicas that are well made, even if you're paying a bit for a brand name, like yeah, up to 500. But like I said, not in the market for any airsoft stuff. Can't show airsoft guns on a YouTube stream either. As I've said before, Jack, I've said loads of times, they come with a lot of Geiger counters. I've had like 4 or 5 different counters that have come with strontium 90 in it. So again, it's one of those things when a lot of counters are demilled, they're meant to take check sources out, but a lot of countries don't bother. Let me WEL85V3. Let's see if anyone's selling it. Defcon Airsoft. Oh, that's just a magazine for it, not the gun. I don't know if they're even sold over here is the answer to that. I'm just looking to see if anywhere sells them. Oh, my internet's frozen, or Chrome is frozen. Hang on. A lot of the spare part, oh, they're in dollars, so that's not even a UK site. No, I can't find any for sale is the answer to that. The only WE gun that came up was that M4 for nearly £500. Apparently not. Again, it just, I guess, no retail. Again, a lot of retailers now don't really do airsoft stuff. And I mean, some do, but because of all the bullshit UK laws we have, I think that's why a lot of companies just don't bother selling that kind of stuff over here now. Because again, if you're like all those companies that had all of the completely legal blank guns, imported all those, you know, they met every bit of the law, and then overnight the government goes, oh no, these actually break the law because somebody could turn them into a real gun. Therefore, we're not doing a buyback. Everybody has to just have them destroyed and all that. A lot of companies now say, what is the fucking point in even trying to deal and stuff like that if you could have, you know, thousands or tens of thousands of pounds worth of stock and have it be made illegal overnight because the government is full of fucking retards. That sounds good, Gas Mask Alan. Sadly, I am not in a place where I could spend that little money on an actual live gun. Probably over 150. I don't even know is the answer to that. And again, they're all over the place, Jack. Like I've said with all this stuff, all over the place. Sometimes eBay, sometimes other places. Sometimes they're cheap. The ones that I really want are expensive. Sometimes I sell them. I used to have a spreadsheet of all my masks, but when I lost that file, I never bothered starting a new spreadsheet of all of them again. The answer is too many. Probably over 150, but too fucking many is the answer to that. Because if you ask me to go and find some particular masks, and a lot of them I don't even know where they are at the moment, they'll be in storage container like number 1 of 10 stacked up somewhere. Yeah, the MD3 I really like. Again, the MD3 is great because it's a Mark II Radiac that they've modernized with more modern electronics, and it just runs off of a single D cell or 2 D cells if you want to power the shitty little bulb in it. As opposed to the Mark II Radiac that again needed a 9-volt battery, but not a standard 9-volt battery, and I think it was a 30-volt battery or something as well. Yeah, it had to. So again, I have powered that Radiac on the Mark II by playing around with a load of different, chain link batteries and that, but it wasn't practical to do. And like I said, the MD3 is a more accurate meter anyway because the electronics in it are more modern. It's like not using vacuum tubes; it's using like modern resistors and everything. You want to get a gas mask with protrusions? What, like your gas mask has warts? I will search it, Kevin, but I have seen that somebody in the States did kind of do a bullpup rifle that looked like an SA-80 with the furniture. Yeah, Forgotten Weapons has done a video on it, so I have seen those, yes. So what's the actual gun underneath then? Is that what, a Bren 180 or whatever? What's the actual gun underneath? But yeah, I do like the look of that because again, it's got, the thing is, the A1 furniture I really like the look of because yeah, I know it was shit. Oh, so it's a Bronwow's BRN 180. So is that like an AR 180 or something different? I'm going to just see if I can find a thing on the actual, what the original 180 looks like. I just have to Google it, aren't I? Because shit results. Okay. Well, yeah, that looks nothing like an LA SA-80, but yeah. That would be the sort of thing I'd want to make if I was over there. Yeah, what, the fish oily smell, because yeah, they used some weird fish oil preservative, didn't they, on a load of those old British like 50s, 60s era electronics. Yeah, I know the smell you mean. I don't mind that smell, but yeah, it's a very strong smell. Again, I actually like, again, the SA-80, I think, especially the A1, I really like the look of as like a retro sci-fi gun like the AUG. But, it's not, you wouldn't want an A1. I know A3s are meant to be pretty damn good, but, it's, you finally got a good bullpup after all these years when the AUG and everything else has existed for ages. But yeah, the R1A1 I think is a much better rifle. I just think it's a classic. I love fouls. Oh, so it is an AR-18 clone. Okay, cool. No, it never ended up getting a Webley air gun, and again, really couldn't afford to splash the money out on them now. Again, that's the kind of thing now, though, where I really worry that if I buy something like that, within a week, the government's going to go, oh, there'll be no buyback, and we've made these illegal because the right-wing folks are converting them into live guns, and they are being used to terrorize the poor asylum seekers. Yeah, like I said, A2 and A3s were meant to be pretty good, weren't they? But like I said, again, I really like the look of the A1. This is the thing. Like, visually, I like the A1. It was just, apparently, it was a pretty horrible gun to have to rely on because of all, like, the various problems with it. But again, like I said, the L1 SLR is the one that I actually like, would rather have in terms of trusting my life on it, even if it was bulky and huge. But yeah, an A2, A3 would be a perfectly good rifle. Oh yeah, because past tense, yeah, loved it. Because yeah, I guess you don't have. Did you serve with it or whatever? Because again, I imagine it was fucking lovely gun if you actually had to use it. But Wasn't the main complaint with the A2 and A3 that they were just a bit on the heavy side compared to, say, a Steyr Org or some of the other bullpups? But again, like I said, I don't think it's a bad gun. It's just the A1 that gave it the shit reputation right from the beginning because of the fragile plastic furniture, the weird mag release, there's really shit internal parts. I think we just shouldn't have got rid of our own gun factories because then we could have fixed all the problems ourselves and kept making them. Again, Britain should have just gone to the EM2, but America said, no, you can't have the EM2, Britain. Because, yeah, EM2 was fucking amazing for when that was designed, but then America basically was like, no, you have to be 762 NATO and all that. Because, yeah, originally the just Territorial Army. Got an empty mag and one trigger pull. Oh, that sounds good fun, though. Yeah. Yeah, again, I do not understand, and I will be off in a minute because I've been on quite a while now. How long have I actually been on? Does it say on the timer somewhere? Oh, an hour and 40 minutes, yeah. So I will be off soon. But yeah, regarding the what was I going to say? Yeah, the weird like 6.8 or whatever it is. Again, it's like, what's the point? Because it is literally almost as big as a 7.62 round. So I don't see what, maybe it's slightly ballistically flatter or something. But yeah, let's standardize a completely new round rather than just sticking with a good 5.56 or a good 7.62 rifle. The MD3 can detect alpha sources very easily because alpha sources are horrifically radioactive. So it can detect a little bit of americium-241 if you open the port and put it next to that. But otherwise, it's just a cool meter. Yeah, it's basically a doomsday meter like the CDV 715 and like that German one I showed earlier. The point of it is for how it's not is something slightly radioactive. It's a meter of how quickly you will die from radiation levels. So it's when radiation starts getting to really dangerous levels, it basically tells you how long you can survive in that radiation field. So if it maxes out, it means you've basically got an hour or less. If it's, at various other stages, you might be able to survive a couple of hours in it and then get radiation sickness. And then it's even color coded. The different scales have the different color codes. So the top scale is red because it's the you're fucked scale. Like, it's a doomsday meter. There, like I said with this one. So up to 5 Rontgen, up to 50 Rontgen, up to 500 Rontgen. So basically, again, the meters of this type are, I just call them doomsday meters. They're not for detecting a little tiny sample and seeing how many counts per minute you get off a little sample. These are for, oh yeah, I'm going to be dead within an hour if I stay here. I better get the fuck out. They're but they do that job perfectly well. And ionization chambers, I am a massive fan of. A lot of it depends on medical care, doesn't it, inductive tea cake? It's one of those things that there's lots of radiation where if you're treated at a hospital that really knows what they're doing early on, your chances are way better. But if you get horrible radiation sickness, for ages they're like, oh, we don't quite know what's wrong with you. Maybe we should transfer you somewhere else. That's where your odds really start going down. Again, it's going to be pure luck with some of it. Also, depends what part of your body it hits. Because if you took 400 Rontgen just entirely to the foot, you could have your foot amputated and probably be all right. Whereas if you get all those rads hitting you directly in the chest or the head, that's when you're really fucked because you can't really amputate that and be alive if it starts going necrotic or whatever. So yeah, it depends where you're hit by the radiation as well. It's like one of those things. Higher the dose, it's more dangerous. If it hits you in a vital organ, it's dangerous. So it is literally like a video game gun with a hitbox thing, radiation. You've got your man-sized target. You better hope you get hit in the foot or the SR-71. I don't think so. Let me search up that one. I've got a DP-66, that one, and a DP-75, and the one that just goes brr, brr, brr. Oh, wait, is that the SR-71? Oh, that's the RS-70. I don't know what one you mean by the 71 then. But I have an RS-70 somewhere. And that I can make go off. The one that goes brr, brr. It takes a few decals and it makes a really loud buzzing noise. RS70. Yes, I have an RS70. Yeah, like I said, I've done videos on it. I can see. Hang on. Give me a minute. I am going to go off in a minute, but I've got one here that's the one taken apart for parts. So this isn't a working one. If I can get that in frame. This isn't a working one. This is the one I've got taken apart for parts. But I do have a working one somewhere. But I don't conveniently know where it is off the top of my head. But I do have one somewhere. Again, it turns up every now and then. It might be in one of my storage piles somewhere. But yeah, I do have the somewhere. Again, somewhere in the massive pile of shit. Sorry, not shit. Collectible resources. Also in another room, I do have an RS70 that works. And yeah, I've done videos of it. Anyway, I will be off now because well, the test mode will go off, and then I can set it off with my X-ray equipment or my strontium 90. But with the strontium 90, it only goes off because I've modified the case on it, because it actually does detect beta radiation, that detector. But it has, basically, it's got a tube in it that's sensitive to beta and gamma radiation. But what they've done with it is they've put some metal around the tube so only gamma and X-rays go through it of a certain energy. So if you open it up, you can take the metal shielding off of the tube, so any strong enough beta radiation sets it off, and any strong enough gamma radiation sets it off, or X-rays. And then what I did as well was I cut the top of the case and put some tape over it, so it's got like a beta entry point. So if you get a strong beta source, you can put it down on it, and if it sets it off, you know you've got quite... So yeah, and then my DP2 source sets it off, because the lowest range is 0.5 R, and my DP2 source is about 1.5 to 1.7 R per hour. So that sets it off. But again, my Chinese X-ray thing sets it off easily, because that thing's scary. Yeah, exactly. I'm quite interested in that Thomas game. Yes, maybe I will stream the Thomas game. But like I said, I hope it turns into Shed 17, and ironically at the end, where Thomas was no longer a really useful engine. The Fat Controller said, "Thomas, we're going to send you up to have some conversions done to make you a really useful engine." So, and then Thomas gets turned into a hybrid, part person, part mechanical monster train. A really useful engine. That sounds cool. Militia one, sorry. Right, anyway, I am going to go off now because I keep saying I'm going off. My throat's going quite dry. Thanks for coming on, everybody. Don't forget to like the stream on your way out, because that does help YouTube share stuff a bit more. That isn't me just saying that. When the videos I get with more likes do tend to get more shared more, probably even more dislikes get shared more, because YouTube knows they're kind of interesting. But yeah, it's been quite a good stream again. Like I said, most streams I normally do a bit later, but somebody's coming around who I used to work with later, so I can't stream in the evening because I don't know how long he's going to be over. Right, see everyone, have a good day, have a good evening, whatever, and I will catch you all hopefully tomorrow for a stream, but if not, I'll be still making daily videos. So yeah, see ya.